Hey, welcome to the live stream here, guys. I wanted to address a question that I addressed on the podcast, and that is that how do I know which passion project, what career to choose? And I was actually facing this myself throughout the whole few years that I've just come out of corporate and started my own work. But I came to a crossroads in the beginning of the year where I wanted to recalibrate and change directions. But I had so many things that I wanted to do that I didn't know which to focus on first. So what did I do? I focused on everything. I focused on all the projects, and guess how far I got? And guess how thinly spread I was? And guess how much work there was? And guess how much focus I had? Very, very little. And so if you're in a position where people have actually told me they've done the passion process that's on the unboxyourgift.com website, the free resource that I give to people on how to find their passion. And one of the common questions I get asked is, I've done the passion process. I know what my passions are, but I can't choose. I can't choose between which one to go for, which one to refrain from. Do I do them all? I mean, I'm kind of scared to now choose because they all mean so much to me. And I hear you, because I was in the same place this year. And as you might know, I was doing coaching, consulting, I was doing workshops, I was doing international tours, I was doing retreats. And I kind of thought, I love speaking. I still love to speak. I still love to create inspiration and transformation with speech. I love that. I think it's something that really resonates with my soul. And one of the things that I wanted to do was I really wanted to embark on mini documentary series, and I wanted to really embark on podcasting. It's been a goal for a very long time, but on the back of my mind, I had never articulated it, and therefore I had never taken it. It never came out. So here's what I want you to do, and I'm just giving you the background so that you know that I've had to recalibrate, and I've done what I'm asking you to suggest for you to do so that you too can benefit from the ability to just focus on that which is most important to you. So if you have 5, if you have 4, if you have 3, if you have more than that, passions, projects, options, careers that you have, then this is how to actually choose between them. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to take a look at, write down all the projects that you've got going on. So for example, for myself, I had an international tour, I had retreats happening, I had workshops happening, I had coaching and consulting clients, I had podcasting, I had mini documentaries, I had all these projects going on at the same time. And so what I did was I put them all in front of me. In fact, there's a whiteboard in my office, which I should have brought out to you. But good morning, Stash! I have a whiteboard in my office that I've written out all the projects that I'm working on. This is what I did. I looked at, on a scale of 1 to 10, which ones are most important to me. Now, what do I mean by important? And the definition of important is what value do they bring, to what extent do they bring to me and to the work, the wider work that I'm doing, to the community, to the people that I'm impacting. What's the level of importance? So I'm giving you the definition of important so you don't think, well, because if I say important, you could have a different interpretation, which is just not going to resonate with the exercise that I'm asking you to do. So the level of importance, the definition for this exercise is what value do you bring to the task at hand, and conversely, what value does the work that you're trying to do extend to the wider world, to the community, to the people that you're trying to impact on a scale of 1 to 10? So for myself, the consulting, the coaching was a level 10 because I derived so much joy from it, and people gain so much of a transformation because they finally get to know what their passion is. They finally get to understand themselves. They create self-awareness. It's all that yummy stuff that once a human being is aligned with who they really are, now they can really align themselves with the best next step in their chapter of their working career. So that's a 10 for me. With podcasting, it's a total 10 because I get so much from the experts. Like, I learn so much. I mean, I recently interviewed an Olympic gold medalist. Like, hello, how often do you and I get to speak to an Olympic gold medalist? I got to go into the training. What kind of training do you do? What kind of mindset work? I mean, these are elite athletes that stretch beyond human normal capabilities. And so he was telling me, by the way, his name is Jesse, and he's got this very beautiful surname, and I'll get back. But go to the Unbox You Give podcast, and you know who I'm talking about. He was telling me that because he's a swimmer, And he's got to be able to breathe at very high speeds, like, the inhale, exhale. So they were taken, the team themselves were taken to a place high upon a mountain somewhere, and they had to stay there for a few days to be able to, for their lung capacity, to get used to the minimum amount of oxygen. And for the minimum amount of oxygen that's in that cabin space, wherever that was in the mountains, their body is going to get used to it. So when they're in their pool and they're huffing and puffing, their brain's not going to freak out and go, oh my God, I need more oxygen. Their brain's going to go, I got this. I remember that part. So the brain is going to create a connection to when they didn't have enough oxygen and everything was cool. And so in the moment that it matters, they're not going to freak out mentally, right? It's all these little things. So podcasting to me was a 10 because I derive so much benefit, and I know that people take so much benefit from it because I get comments and people telling me. The third thing was mini doc. So I can go on and on and on and on about mine. But for yourself, look at all your projects, all the things that you want to accomplish. And I want you to think out what's the level of importance is 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. Okay? The second thing that I want you to do now, you've got all those things listed out. You've got it on a scale of 1 to 10 for importance. The second thing is the level of urgency. How urgent is that project that you need to do? The project, the career, the next thing that you want to work on. And what do I mean by urgent? The definition of urgency is time bound, is deadline bound. So for example, if I wanted to, there was a documentary competition that I wanted to enter. There's a deadline to enter that competition. That's a deadline. That's something urgent, right? So if I wanted to, for example, do my international tours, right? And there's a deadline attached if I want to start a family, because there'll be less likelihood of me traveling so extensively, at least for a couple of years. God only knows, right? But if I wanted to start a family, there's a deadline. So I need to get, so can you see what I'm doing? Urgency is to do with a deadline. And there's a joke about that. Like, we make plans, but God is the ultimate planner. So, we can make all the plans we want. It makes no difference because at the end of the day, the ultimate plan is going to be shown. But my point is that in our human capacity, is there an urgent deadline attached to the task? So I looked at podcasting for myself, and I looked at, what's the level of urgency 0 to 10? And I think the urgency for me is a 10 for podcasting. And why? Because I'm getting into the mindsets. I'm getting into the little bits, pieces that you and I wouldn't know. All we see on TV or on an article or in social media is the result of what someone's achieved. The Olympic gold medalist, the guy who created the shoe that grows, I interviewed the guy. He created a shoe that grows. The lady who created Give Back Box, which helps homeless people. It's an incredible idea. She created a social enterprise. She's got Amazon. She's got Nordstrom. She's got all these big companies behind her. And it started off with this. It's incredible. The journey is incredible. I'm not just listening to or hearing about the success. I'm actually interviewing these people, looking at how the success came to be. What were the real failures? What were the triumphs? What were the things that you and I are going to hear about in a 30-second, media grab, right? So for me, the urgency is really important because it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me just with my feet on the ground, knowing that everything takes its time because once you look at other people's results outside of yourself, it's easy to get caught up with comparisonitis. It's easy to get caught up with, well, what's so-and-so doing? And why am I over here? Why didn't I get over this success? Well, they've done it so much more better than me. They've done it quicker, faster, more profitable than me. Why aren't I there? It's easy to get caught up with that when we're not actually in tune or aligned. And so these podcasts allow me and my listeners to just get really in tune and just focus on the task at hand. So when you're doing your passion projects and you're creating a choice for yourself, you've got all the passion projects, the career choices, what you want to do in one list. Next to it, you want to say on a scale of 0 to 10, how important, and next to that, on a scale of 0 to 10, how urgent it is. And then what you want to do is you want to add up the numbers. Add up the numbers to see what they equal to. So you're going to see now in a black and white sense because it's all important, it's all urgent. We all get that. That's why they're so important to you. But when you can just focus on 1 or 2 things maximum, to get you to really see the fruits, to see the fruits of your efforts. Now you're going to be able to get a lot more momentum, more success. You're going to be able to focus and not feel so spun out and spread thin and frustrated because things aren't moving as fast enough or at the pace that you think that they should be moving. So once you add up all the numbers in terms of how important each project is and how urgent, you're going to know. You're going to really know which project you're going to work on. And when I did this exercise on myself, I realized that my most important and most urgent projects right now are my podcasting. And second to that is creating programs for elders on how to be able to utilize their skill sets into the workforce. And that's what I really want to work on, because that's where my mind is constantly. Now, in addition to that, I've got the mini documentaries, I've got the consulting, I've got the speaking, my international speaking. Those are the other things that I love as well. But for the sake of focus, for the sake of adding as much impact, for the sake of sanity, for the sake of knowing to enjoy the journey of life and be able to produce and be able to progress, God willing, it's about focusing on one or two things that really capture you. And then once you've got those going and momentum, and maybe you hire someone to take care of the back end stuff, of the admin stuff, then you can proceed to the next. So you're never choosing between, you're just saying this is the priority for now. Because a lot of people think, well, if I choose, then that means I can't do this stuff that I want to do, this passion project, but I want to do them all and I don't want to have to choose. You're not choosing. You're just simply putting, see how I'm using linguistics, language to reframe something that maybe you're resisting? All you're simply doing is prioritizing one thing over the other for now. For now. Not forever. For now. And once you do that, you can just dig into these projects so much sooner and get some progress happening. Get the evidence that you are good enough. Get the evidence that you can do this. Get the evidence for yourself, not for anybody else. That you are progressing, that you are creating acceleration in your work and in your impact and in the difference that you want to make. And once you do that, you've got greater horsepower to go on to the next projects. Rather than having all these projects, being spread thin and going, you're being pushed aside, tug of war, not knowing which way to go, and basically just being spread thin, getting frustrated, getting short, getting snappy for no reason, and it's not who you are. So, and look at my hair becoming all tangled. All right, so what I want you to do is just a recap of what I've discussed. If you're having trouble trying to choose a passion project, a career, trying to choose which passions to go for, write them all down. Everything that you feel passionate about, put them all down on paper. Next thing you want to do is you want to mark them from 0 to 10. How important are they? Next column, 0 to 10. How urgent are they? Each individual thing. Then you want to tally the marks for each individual project, passion, career choice, and then you will see exactly where they line up for where you are in your life right now. And then you prioritize to do the one or two things now, get the momentum built, and then go on to the next ones when you have the space. But if you're spread thin, you're going to be spreading your focus thin as well. And when your focus is spread thin, you're pretty much kind of going on the surface level and not digging deep enough. So I hope that's helped. Let me know if that's helped for you guys. Let me know if this is of value to you. Because if it is, then I'll do more videos on how to be able to really dissect your passion, how to accelerate towards it. And by all means, go to the Unbox Your Give podcast and listen to the people who have come ahead of you, or who are not ahead of you, but they have progressed because of their focus and be able to turn their passion into a profession. It's just profound what stories that I've come across, the people that I've come across. I mean, just last week I interviewed Usman Iftikhar, who was given the award by Prince Harry beginning of this year on being the Young Commonwealth Person of the Year. And the reason why he got that award is because he was a migrant who came to Australia. He was a Pakistani man who couldn't get a job. He was an engineer who had an engineering degree. He came out to Australia and was working at service stations. And he realized that, I don't know how long this is going to go for, but he was finding other migrants who couldn't get jobs, who were qualified. And so what he created was a social enterprise for helping migrants and refugees start their own businesses. And within 2 years, they've been able to help 15 businesses for refugees and migrants. They've been able to get mass recognition. He was in meetings with the Prime Minister of England and Prince Harry and sharing his opinion with the other finalists about where the Commonwealth, not Australia, where the Commonwealth, where the projection of the Commonwealth should be headed. How exciting is that, right? And what his work, and he out of all the contestants from the Commonwealth, guys, this is not just Australia, this is the Commonwealth, this is England, Canada, Australia, India, and we can go on and on, all the countries of the Commonwealth. He won the Young Person of the Year, the Commonwealth Young Person of the Year, because of his work, his contribution, because of his passion to do something of benefit, and that passion became his profession. And once that happens, that's when opportunities come, and that's just a remarkable story. But his interview is on the Unbox You Give podcast, Usman Iftikhar. Amazing story and how it all happened. And I asked him, well, how did you get involved? How did you get involved with the Commonwealth Young Person of the Year? How did someone nominate you? What was the requirements? How did the business start? How did the idea come out? What were the hiccups involved? All that juicy stuff that you would want to know if you wanted to start your own thing or continue with your own thing. If you just need the motivation, the inspiration, and you need those stories, the insights, the golden nuggets to get you over the line and get you continue the activation, the motivation in you, then go and listen to those interviews, because that's exactly what they're there for. They're simply there so that you can stand on their shoulders and see the world from their shoulders rather than trying to create the same thing again. Right? When you stand on their shoulders, you get to see the view that they're watching from, and then you build from that rather than starting from the ground again. When you build from that, that's when the domino effect happens. I mean, that's why I've started the podcast, because the domino effect is if I do well and you see me doing well, then shit, that inspires you to go do well. And that's the domino effect. And then someone watches you do well. Then they think if he can do it, then I can do it. And that's the domino effect. But when we're lazy and we can't be bothered, and I don't know if I'm feeling it today, I don't feel like doing it. Well, if we get into that mindset, well then who you hang around is who you become. And if I'm hanging around people who just don't feel like doing something, well, guess what? That behavior, that habit is going to rub off me. Suddenly, I'm not going to feel like it. Let me just end with this. When the Olympic gold medalist was telling me about his training, go listen to him just with the fact of how he describes his training. When he was telling me about his training, I'm listening to it and I'm going, I need to up my game. 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 That's all I'm going through. Why? Because he's going for exceptional in his work. Like, he's not aiming for, I'll get by, or standard, or good enough. He's going for freaking exceptional. He's trying to be the best human example for what God has given him, the skill of swimming. He's trying to make the best example of himself possible. Right? He's not going for average. If he was average, he wouldn't make it to the Olympic Games. If he was average, he'd be kind of feeling, he doesn't feel like training this morning. And he was telling me, I don't feel like getting up 6 a.m., jumping into a cold pool, and he lives in Canberra, by the way, jumping into a cold pool and doing laps. I don't feel like it. But I do it because it doesn't matter how you feel. It matters how you finish. And all that training, all the sacrifices, all the fact that he can't hang out with his friends, and the fact that he can't do what his other friends do because, they're young, up and at him, and they go partying, and he doesn't go partying because his training doesn't allow it. His focus doesn't allow it. All the sacrifices, and that's a sacrifice for him. All the sacrifices he's making is for that moment of exceptional human effort that we get to see on the TV screen when he touches the finish line for gold. And he's working day in, day out for that moment. And then once he reaches that moment, he's a legend for life. Because he becomes that legend. But why do we admire these exceptional people? It's because they've put in the hard yakkers. They've put in the sacrifices, the stuff that we admire and going, how do you do that? well, we can stop admiring and actually become part of that world. And by me doing these interviews is an invitation to come and join me in this world that we find when we see on TV or in an article, wow, we find like awe-inspiring. But the fact that we find it awe-inspiring means that we've got that something in us too. You know, we've got that spark that if we just ignite it in the work that we love to do, if we find that spark and we maintain the spark, because the motivation is going to fizzle out. I mean, ask anyone who's won a gold medal. You're going to get sick of swimming. You're going to get sick of doing laps. You're going to get sick of going to some stupid place on a high mountain and get freezing cold and not be able to breathe. But but it's that training, it's that discipline, it's the focus. Just to end with this, guys, I was at a podcast meeting 2 nights ago. I'm at this meeting and there are people from all walks of life doing all kinds of podcasts. And I just wanted to get to know the people around the community who are also podcasting, because I just wanted to, I guess, great minds think alike, and who you hang around is who you become. And this lady's talking about the conference she went to in Chicago, and she went to a conference in Australia about podcasting. And I was just listening to see, what I could learn from all of this. And it's interesting because I've only just started my podcast probably about 2.5 months ago, something like that. And I'm up to episode 40 in my podcast, which is fine. But the others had started when they were in like 2016 and 2015 and 2017, and they were up to episodes 22 and 24. And here's what I learned. There's nothing, I'm not comparing myself with, oh, look at me, I've done more than them. There's just like, that's BS, so what? But one of the girls asked me, are you doing this like full time? Like, is this like your full-time job? And I'm like, no, it's not my full-time job. It's what I do to extend my work. It's one of the things that I do to extend. It's not full-time, but it takes a lot of time, right? And the point I'm sharing that with you is I sat in that meeting and I thought to myself, am I working too hard? Because putting a podcast together is a lot of work. Can I just say? It's a lot of work putting a podcast together. Finding the people, interviewing the people, coordinating. Everyone's busy. Coordinating a time, editing, uploading. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. So I'm sitting in that meeting thinking to myself internally, am I doing too much? I mean, everyone else has been doing it since 2016, 2017. They're only up to like doing episodes once a month, and I'm doing episodes Monday to Friday. Like, do I need to just maybe de-accelerate, like just put the brakes on? And I went, hold on a second. And in that moment of me thinking, I was thinking, what's my vision? Like, what's my vision that I want to really run towards? Because their vision is something completely, I don't even know what their vision is. But I know that for me, putting out content Monday to Friday, interviews out Monday to Friday, it means that I'm in a place where I'm stretching myself. Because it's not convenient, by no stretch of the imagination, is it convenient for me to interview people and put it up Monday to Friday. But it's a stretch. So I'm stretching myself to do more than what I usually would. Because in that stretch comes the discipline. In that stretch comes the focus. In that stretch, I have to stop thinking about how I feel. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like, screw how I feel. Nobody cares about how I feel. Because at the end of the day, when you and I meet God, it's how we finish. It's what we've done in the world. It doesn't matter, oh God, I just didn't feel like doing what it doesn't matter how we feel. It matters how we finish, and how we finish is really when in that meeting with God, when we have it and we go, how did I actually finish? That's how I see the world. And I'm not going to know how I finish until that meeting. And so when I'm having that in mind, my vision for this podcast is to extend not content, but to extend incredible information that someone could listen to an interview and go, right, that's a catalyst for me to go in this direction. That's a catalyst for me to change this. That's a catalyst for me. There's an idea there that I can pursue. If nothing more, to just keep momentum, to keep hope happening. And that's an extension for myself as the interviewer and for people listening. That's what I want to do. That's my vision for it. And so if I drop that vision and just put my work into my comfort zone, which is once a month, which would be, when I feel like putting out an interview, I'll do it. I can do all of that. But once again, I fall into this trap of trying to look at other people and thinking, well, they're not working as hard as I am, so why the hell should I? Well, at the end of the day, my vision is different. When I looked at Jesse, the gold medalist, when I look at Kenton Lee, the guy who created the shoe that grows, when I interviewed Monica Waiela, who created the Give Back box, when I interviewed Liz Volpe, who created Dare to Dream workshops in Cambodia, a country that is illiterate because of a man by the name of Pol Pot that came in and killed, basically purged everyone who even wore glasses in case they were educated. When I look at these people and the difference that they're making, it was hard, it was difficult, it was inconvenient, it was a challenge, it was cold, it was not something that they wanted to do, but they had to find a way because a vision was pulling them towards it. A vision, what do I mean by a vision? A why, a reason so big, it was bigger beyond themselves. If the podcast was all about me, I would do it once a month. But the podcast, the vision has to be, and I'm only using this as the podcast because it's what I'm working on at the moment, but the vision has to be beyond yourself. And when your vision is beyond your personal interest, it's beyond what is going to satisfy you. Yes, you need to generate income. Yes, you need to do that. But what is going to get you through the I don't feel like it mentality, I just don't feel like it, is when your vision is beyond you because you know that there's a bigger, bolder mission at hand than just, I need to get by. Because that's not motivating for anyone. I just need to get by. But when you know what your why is, and if you don't know what that is, you need to work on that in whatever work or capacity that you're working in. You need to get a vision, a reason, a why bigger than yourself. Because when you have it, now you're going to see rewards that you hadn't seen before. Because you've been so cogged up in your own mind about me, that it's hard to get out of your own way. But when the reason is beyond you, now you can see a link. Now there's a reason. Now there's a reason to do early mornings, late nights. And I'm not saying that you should do that, because everyone's different. Some people are already doing extenuating days or working extenuating hours. It's about looking at your own self. It's about looking at where you are. And you know whether you need to work more. You know in yourself. No one needs to tell you that. Or you need to work smarter. But the point is when you have a vision beyond yourself, that's where a pull comes. That's where a God-given pull comes. And not just Monday morning, got to get up, all right, do the calls, go to a meeting, go to do the routine work. That's just boring. You're going to get out of that very soon and you're going to get sick of that very soon because it's all about you. And that's the problem at school. All we've been taught is, go to school, go to university, get a job, and it's all about us. Really, when you get into the world, what gives you greatest fulfillment is, yes, you make your own income, and then what is overflow is what you give out. Whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's commitment, whether it's energy, whether it's focus, whether anything, when it's an overflow, that's when you see fulfillment. But you've got to be full in yourself, and the way you get full is have a reason bigger than your own self. And when the self-interest isn't the reason why you're trying to go for it, that's when you can overcome the laziness, the I don't feel like it, the lack of discipline, the lack of focus. And that's when you'll derive the greatest benefit from these interviews on the Unbox You Give podcast. Because you will see how these people have gone beyond feeling, that I don't feel like it. So I wanted to share that with you guys, that if you're struggling with passions, when you're struggling to which way to direction to move, use the exercise that I shared with you, because it's exactly the exercise that I used this year to recalibrate myself and to really get very specific onto what it is, because I don't know how long I don't know how long you've got on earth, that is. But it's a way in which you know that the time that you've got, the breath that you have, the moments that you have, God willing, the years of health and faith that we will have, is that we can spend it well worth the while. And that's an exercise that it helped me. My sister actually asked me the other day, I'm struggling trying to find which passion to choose after she did my passion process. And this is the exact advice that I give my sister that I'm giving to you. So it's from the heart that I've used from my own family to yours that I've extended to. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this has been of benefit. If it has, please let me know, because if you let me know, then I can do more. Then if you don't let me know, then I'm not going to do more. But if you let me know, it works both ways. So if you found what I've just shared with you valuable, insightful, something that someone else can benefit for, then please like it and share it, because by you doing that makes me know that it was well worth the while. So thank you so much, guys, and I'll catch you next time live and for sure on the Unbox You Give podcast. See you soon.